Coach Ennis also was called the Onion, was his nickname that nobody would ever dare say to him. And he was called the Onion because he made so many people cry. And he was straight up the Onion. And he was the most respected human I've ever met. The most universally respected human I've ever met in my life. He exuded Zeus energy. He was super funny, witty, and his mission was to bring out the greatest in people. Straight up, period, hard stop, no comma. He was that at such a level that Bill Parcells, who won the Super Bowl twice with the New York Giants, called my high school Coach Ennis, called him a mentor. Coach Ennis was about 10 years older than Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells went to Riverdale High School, which is one town over from Emerson. And in certain ways, a rival high school, other ways not. We're not in the same league. It's a bigger high school, but we do have rivalries in certain ways. Bill Parcells grew up in that town, and Bill Parcells played semi-professional baseball on a team with my Coach Ennis. Yeah. Guys, muting help with my Coach Ennis. And when my Coach Ennis, the relationship I developed with Coach Ennis was an incredible one. Come out to in a second, but when my Coach Ennis passed away, which was one of the hardest, most difficult moments, because I experienced him later in his life. I experienced him in the deepest and richest ways and some of the shortest of ways, because he stopped being our high school baseball coach at the end of my sophomore year of high school. And I didn't even start for him ever on varsity. But Coach Ennis was the reason I went to Columbia University along with Ed Ford. And Coach Ennis went on to be the pitching coach at Columbia. And in 2 seasons took them from horrible to the #1 pitching staff, Division I out of 310 plus Division I universities in America, took them to #1 in earned run average. And one of the pitchers on that staff, he caused to become a major leaguer, and that guy's name is Frank Seminara. And Frank said that no Coach Ennis, no way he makes the big leagues. And that's who Coach Ennis was, and then some. So when I was in 6th grade, and I moved to this new town the summer after 6th grade, and I felt very alone and very isolated still, because I missed my town where I grew up with Paul Criscolo from 0 to 11. And I was sad, and I felt very lonely. And I went to Coach Ennis's baseball camp. And it was scary, man. It was focused, it was intense, and it was scary. And in 6th grade, one of those mornings, I don't know why, but maybe I was scared, maybe it was the heat, maybe whatever, I got a terrible stomach ache. And my stomach hurt so much. And I was crying, just in pain and fear. I didn't know if I could allowed to say I have a stomach ache. I was 12, and I didn't know how all this worked. There was, high school kids that were there. It was scary and overwhelming. And so I was sitting crying in the corner, and Coach Ennis came walking up to me and said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He goes, "Something's wrong." And I said, "My stomach hurt." And he said, "Does it hurt?" "Alexa, stop." He said, "Does it hurt like you can't play?" Obviously, Coach, yeah. He said, "Well, go to the bathroom, come back and see if you feel better." And he said, "Just always tell me the truth." He said, "I will always tell you the truth. Always tell me the truth. If you can't go, you can't go." He goes, "Now, I don't know that you're old enough to know the difference between those two things yet." He said, "But you're 12, and we'll start learning here." And I felt some level of actual empathy from him. And so that began an incredible relationship between the two of us. And when he passed away, his wife, Mrs. Ennis, said to me that you were his favorite ever. and he coached kids for his entire life, and he met you late in life. He said, but he saw in you that would just do the things. And he was always so proud of you. And he always believed that you outperformed your talent at the highest level of anyone he'd ever seen outperform their inherent talent. You weren't born no talent. But he watched people that were 6'4", 230, that had every genetic gift imaginable, not do what you did. And to have gone to Columbia and been the captain, you maximized your talent. And that's what he was so proud of. That's all he ever wanted to see in people. So in 1987, after having Coach Ennis never, ever, ever, never, ever be upset with me, I was as perfect as I could be. I had pleasing tendencies and patterns even back then. I did everything I was told. I did more of it. I did it earlier. I did it more, harder. I did the things. And Coach was so hard on everyone. And he wasn't very hard on me because I gave him no room to be hard on me. I was respectful. I wasn't butt kissing. I was like, I didn't chase him. I did my thing, my work. In a lot of ways, the same way I related to Tony Robbins. And so Coach Ennis, my junior year in high school, that's when I had first started doing imagery and visualization work. And it was absolutely unbelievable what happened. I told the story as far as a sophomore, and I didn't start varsity with Coach Ennis. My mindset wasn't right yet. I was scared. I felt overwhelmed. I had the skills, but my mindset wasn't right. And I just got scared. And, I just didn't perform. I didn't feel free. On JV, I was a beast. On varsity, I was nothing. I had the story, like I wasn't old enough yet. I didn't belong yet, and he was patient because it wasn't physical errors I was making. I mean, it wasn't mental error. I wasn't not trying, but at the bat, I was hesitant. I was scared. I wasn't there yet. And he had patience for that. And he understood that. And he was never hard on me. And even though I wasn't performing up to my highest level, because he knew I was doing everything I could do and I was finding my way. My junior year, I became unleashed. He wasn't there. He had gone off to Columbia, but he was still a teacher at the high school. I still talked to him every day. And my junior year, I became an absolute beast. And I hit 8 home runs. I drove in 47 runs. I hit 467. For people that don't know what that means, that means that I put together one of the top 10 seasons of any player in the state of New Jersey in 1987. Period, hard stop, no comma. I guarantee you my numbers were better than Paul's cousin Anthony, who was also one of the best players in the state of New Jersey. That junior Anthony certainly hit 8 home runs. I'm sure he didn't drive in 47 runs. And I was an absolute beast my junior year in 1987. And my goal, I put a vision board together long before I ever heard of Tony Robbins. I set goals because I had an imagery and visualization coach, the guy I spent the programs, and it was wild. And I put on there all those numbers. I basically hit my numbers, not all of them exactly, but the numbers were ridiculous. And one of my goals was to be first team all county. And now with my numbers, I thought I might be first team all state. And because of politics and bureaucracy, right? Fear, distortion, all the things that humanity brings forward, I got totally screwed politically. It was obscene what happened. Obscene. And in part, it was a rebellion against Coach Ennis's leadership, integrity, and power, because he wasn't there anymore. Even though we won the league championship my junior year, they put nobody on even first team all league. Like, my numbers were insane. And I didn't even make first team all league. Therefore, you couldn't even put up for all county, let alone all state. And I was crushed by BS. I was crushed by corruption emotionally. And I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. And 84, I met this gentleman who's a scout. That's a longer story. He had gotten me into a tryout camp in Old Dominion University in Virginia, where the top players from this country were going to be, and we're going to be performing. And I told my mom, I'm not going. I'm done with baseball. Screw baseball. I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to get ready for senior football. We're going to win the league and state championship. And I'm just going to focus and get ready. I'm not playing baseball this summer. And at that point, I'd been recruited by a grand total of 0 colleges. 0. Nobody knew who I was. I had no marketing. I was just playing for a small public high school, and I wasn't even all league in a tiny little league, public school league in New Jersey. I was nobody from nowhere. And so my mom, in her infinite wisdom, much to what I didn't want her to do, called up Coach Ennis and said, I don't know what to do. He's not going to go to this thing at Old Dominion. He won't go. Coach Ennis said, don't worry, Maureen. I'll talk to Sean. I walked into mechanical drawing class the next day, and Coach Ennis was there, and he said, hey, can I talk to you? I said, sure, Coach. Of course. What's up? He said, I hear you're not going to Old Dominion. My heart sank. I felt like throwing up, and I was scared out of my mind. I said, yeah, Coach, we're going to win the state championship in football, and I got to get ready, and I got to lift. He said, don't lie to me. He said, don't lie to me. And he said, I thought you were somebody. I was wrong. And this is within earshot of everybody else in that mechanical drawing class. And he said, you know what's the worst thing about you? Tears are already pouring down my face. The worst thing about you is you're not like John Smith. I'm not going to say his name. John Smith grew up in a household with a drug-dealing father. He has no idea. He has no role models, nothing. He knows no better. And that's why he does the stupid, ridiculous, selfish things that he does. But you know better. And you're choosing this. You know what that makes you? It makes you selfish, and it makes you a coward. And it makes you the opposite of everything I thought you were. Because you didn't get what you want, what you deserved. You quit. Who are you? What are you? Get out of my sight. I went home. I said, Mom, what did you say to Coach Ennis? I was livid, humiliated, embarrassed, in pain. I just told him that you weren't going to go to Old Dominion. You know what he did to me today? Do you know what he did to me today? Sorry. And she shouldn't have said she was sorry. Because in all the things my mother ever did for me in my life, besides giving me life itself, 100% that was the greatest gift she ever gave me. Bar none, absolutely unequivocally, the greatest gift she ever gave me. I said, I'm going to Old Dominion. I went to Old Dominion. And I rode down in a van with Eddie Ford and all these players from famous Hudson County, like Rob Gill would say, and some kids from other places in New Jersey. Every kid in that van was all county or all state. One of Paul Criscolo's high school friends, Joe Azzolino, was in that van, and he went to Davidson, a Division I scholarship. Every player in that vehicle went to Division I college. Guy Rob Gill knew, Dave Stack, God rest his soul, was killed in a car accident in college, Division I scholarship. Irv Smith in that van then went on to play for the New Orleans Saints, was an NFL All-Pro player, 4-year scholarship to Notre Dame as a football player. Willie Banks, Major League Baseball player. Mike Carlson, University of Tennessee. Laura Gilligan, University of Tennessee, SEC Division I players. I'm sitting there like, it would be, for those of you who want a context for this, it would be like me sitting in the car with Tony Robbins, Jay Abraham, Jack Canfield, Tim Ferriss, Oprah Winfrey, and me. And there was like, 6 more people besides, like that. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell am I doing in this car? I'm a fraud. And I'm mad at my mom, but I didn't want to disappoint Coach Ennis. I didn't want him to see me that way. And I realized what he told me was the truth. And I exaggerate nothing in this story. I fucking, excuse my language, tore it up. I was the best player. I'm not saying I was the best player in life in the world, but like in the 1980 Miracle on Ice, for that week, like they were that night, for that week at that place, I was the best player there. I ended up as the starting center fielder in the All-Star game against players that were national All-Stars from all over the place. I was unstoppable. I was free. I was on fire. And I was the starting center fielder in the All-Star game of All-Star games. And I went from 0 to 100 schools recruiting me. Everybody wanted me. Big giant schools, Duke, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, all the Ivy League schools. Changed everything about how I saw the world. I realized that what other people said about me, like those coaches who put me on honorable mention all league, that didn't define me. I define me. My play can define me. And it wasn't the last time, just like for you, that I got screwed. That changed the trajectory of my entire life. Columbia was thrilled to have me. Couldn't believe they got me. I went from being no one to a rock star. First day at Columbia, inter-squad scrimmage 1, I was starting with the varsity and batting leadoff before I ever had a collegiate moment. None of that ever would have happened. I wouldn't have ended up playing college baseball if I didn't go to Old Dominion. I would not have played college baseball And if I didn't play college baseball, I'll make you bet I'm not talking to you here today. 50 different reasons of how it shaped me and my belief structures about life, people, and the world. And it came because Coach Ennis told me the truth. And I thanked him 100 more times after that happened. Now, as a fun footnote, not everybody is me. Not everybody is motivated and driven by being publicly challenged. Coach Ennis also taught me that. So in our leadership, in our management, in our structures, it's critical to understand who is and who is not motivated that way. And Tony Robbins taught me this. And it brought me back to Coach Ennis. And I learned this in 1997. When you publicly proclaim things and put yourself out there and put yourself at stake, it creates an unbelievable amount of leverage, an incalculable amount of leverage. So I encourage each and every one of you on this Thankful Thursday to find your way, find your courage of putting yourself out there publicly and committing to things and being held to account for them. Because that structure and that process changed everything for me. It changed everything for me. Because before I went to Old Dominion, I believed what those guys said. I forgot about my numbers. I believed in their bullshit and thought I was just not very good. That I was just honorable mention all league in a little public high school league in New Jersey, because that's what they said. What they say doesn't matter. It is your truth and it's numbers. My numbers told the truth. My college numbers later told the truth. My numbers at Old Dominion, well, my slugging percentage for the week, most of you don't know what that means, was over 1,000 for the week. Because every time I got up, essentially I hit an extra base hit. I batted 650 for the week and had a double in every single game, at least in multiple games. I had 2 doubles. It was insanity what was happening. And I happened to be the fastest player at the entire camp, including outrunning Irv Smith, who would later go on a full scholarship to Notre Dame. He would later become a tight end in the NFL. At that point, he wasn't as big and heavy, and he was fast. I was faster. The numbers told the truth. And everything I do in every conceivable way, at every moment, every time, I am looking to bring the best of Coach Ennis, Tony Robbins, Coach Woods, Oprah Winfrey, a heart and math of all of it alive and forward to free people to their dreams. And that is the singular intention of this work at all times. And sometimes creates a little disruption. And if you've never had the privilege of having a Coach Ennis in your life, it will be an honor to have the privilege of being that for you. If you've never had the privilege of your mother exposing you to somebody who you respect and love and admire, I offer you the life-changing power of that privilege. Tony Robbins says that our ability to tolerate uncertainty or the quality of our life is in direct correlation to the ability for us to tolerate uncertainty. I don't know if it's in direct correlation, but it is in high correlation. And my mom gave me a giant teaspoon of cod liver oil uncertainty, and it changed my life because she merged ecosystems with Coach Ennis, and that caused ecosystem merger with a camp called Old Dominion. which led to a foundational awakening inside of me that I decide who I am, and math tells the story, not the opinion of others.